access to electricity, and 200 million of them do not have access to clean cooking and are exposed to all respiratory problems and diseases due to smoke. And because of climate change, we have problems in our infrastructure, and we need to develop profitable infrastructure and spend at least $160 billion per year. Indeed, it is encouraging to note that the African governments have devoted about 3.5% of their GDP to the development of infrastructure over the past 20 years. It is too little compared to some emerging countries. China and India, for example, devote 7.7 and 5.2% of their GDP, respectively, in infrastructure. We can thus see in which direction efforts have to be made. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this summit affords us an excellent opportunity to translate the climate ambitions of Africa into investment opportunities, to consolidate our voices on matters on burning issues of climate change, to prepare for the UN Climate Summit and for COP28 in the United Arab Emirates. At these meetings of global importance, Africa must, among other challenges, highlight the worrying and sometimes tragic situation in the Sahel, in the Horn of Africa, where droughts and floods alternate, in the Congo River Basin, with dangerous deforestation and the disastrous consequences of cyclones in southern Africa and in the island states. It is urgent that Africa comes to all these meetings with concrete proposals to be implemented without delay. I strongly reiterate my call to come to the next two meetings with precise proposals without drowning them in literature and the usual litany on the imperative need for collective justice for Africa, where responsibility is very limited in the pollution of the world, with an inversely proportional share of the volume of global investment in the field of environment. This call for a restoration of justice for Africa would benefit from being supported by a real reform of the global financial architecture, for which a high-level panel is rightly devoted at this summit. Obviously, this reform must resolutely focus on the financial organs and structures, institutions which structure the universe, which operate far from Africa. In this desired reform, a question comes to mind: the weight of the debt and the financing gap of the SDGs. Africa alone represented a need of $1.3 billion per year for sustainable development needs by 2030, while the financing needs for SDGs in the same period were $2.5 billion for financing developing countries. Everyone knows that the public debt stock in sub-Saharan Africa at the end of 2023 was estimated at $1.1 trillion out of 650 billion SDRs mobilized. Africa received only 33 billion, which is only 4.5%. In view of these staggering figures and many others, it is clear that there is no relevant global intervention in favor of Africa. Solution for the crippling debt challenge of Africa. To aid the struggle, which include financing adaptation, $100 billion per year, Africa has galvanized its will in its common position through a momentum unifying African voices and it will be central point of our agenda in G20 as soon as we join it. However, in this struggle, Africa cannot just be satisfied with incantation. Just like for its independence, it is a challenge to rely on its own personal efforts, on its own genius, the quality and its virtues of bold, imaginative, united and interdependent leadership. I wish you full success to our deliberations. I thank you very much. Asante sana.
Excellencies, we are overwhelmed by the support that we have received for the summit, and we want to listen to each and every one of us. So I would like to plead with Your Excellencies that we stick to the agreed 5 minutes so that we can have everybody speaking to this. Next, Excellencies, out of COP27 in Egypt was the establishment of a loss and damage fund and the finalization of the details to implement the Santiago network. It was also the first time food security was recognized in the COP conversations. The Arab Republic of Egypt was a COP27 presidency, and it is my honor now to invite His Excellency Mustafa Madbouli, the Prime Minister of Egypt. Welcome, Your Excellency.
Au nom de Dieu le tout, Clément le tout, miséricordieux, président du Kenya, distingués invités, distingués présidents, mesdames et messieurs, je veux tout d'abord vous transmettre les salutations de son Excellence le président Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, président de la République arabe d'Égypte. Il m'est un grand privilège de participer au nom de l'Égypte à cette réunion de haut niveau et je félicite son Excellence président Ruto et Kenya qui a voulu bien abriter cette réunion qui survient après le succès de la réunion de la COP 27. Mesdames et messieurs, ce sommet d'aujourd'hui survient à un moment critique de notre monde et en particulier le continent africain qui témoigne de la fréquence du changement climatique avec les vagues de sécheresse dans le Sahel et les feux et incendies et les ouragans au sud du continent et l'élévation de la température, l'élévation du niveau de la mer et de l'océan et l'élévation des températures au nord de l'Afrique. Et ceci aggrave les pressions et nos pays africains. C'est pour cela que l'Égypte, à partir de son engagement pour contribuer aux efforts pour faire face au changement climatique, s'est efforcée pour avoir des résultats au cours de la conférence du Sharm el-Sheikh pour passer à l'application à travers l'accélération, la mise en place des projets et pour répondre aux besoins des pays en développement et renforcer les efforts internationaux pour passer aux économies vertes à basse émissions. L'Égypte, en tant que président de la conférence, que Sharm el-Sheikh soit un point de départ pour répondre aux attentes des pays africains pour faire face aux défis du changement climatique. Dans ce même contexte, notre conférence survient pour confirmer notre détermination à passer vers l'économie verte ouverte et à recevoir le soutien technique et financier et les investissements, ce qui permettrait de bien d'explorer toutes les richesses de nos continents, non pas uniquement dans l'investissement et le financement des projets